We like our parents to see the children first, the woman said with a cheerful tone. They were shown into halls, one after another, almost like classrooms in a school. This is age 1 to 2, one of the workers explained. Another room, this is ages 3 to 5. In the room marked 3 to 5, a little girl sat quietly on a chair. Her face turned slowly towards them. She smiled. The smile was small, almost shy, yet it pierced Betty's heart. She stopped breathing for a moment, her eyes fixed. Without thinking twice, Betty pointed at a little girl. Yes, how old is she? Oh yes, baby Hazel is 4, the staff responded with a polite smile. Betty touched Obina's arm. Her voice trembled but was firm. I like her already. I need this baby. Obina looked at her in surprise. Betty. But Betty's eyes did not move. She had already chosen. The adoption was successful. Everything went smoothly, almost too smoothly. Within days, the papers were signed, and the little girl was handed over to Betty and Obina. They named her Marbelle. They moved out of the old apartments. They didn't want neighbors asking questions about how a child suddenly appeared in their home. Betty and Obina enrolled her in a nearby private school when she turned 5. They wanted her to mix with other children, to grow and be happy like every other kid. At first, everything seemed fine. She wore her small uniform with pride and carried her lunchbox to school every morning. 6 weeks after resumption. One afternoon, during break time, Marbelle quietly whispered to a group of her classmates, 4 of them in number. Come, let's play inside here, she said, pointing at the restroom. I want to show you something fun. The children followed. Inside the restroom, Marbelle locked the door. Her eyes darkened, and before their little eyes, she transformed, no longer a child, but an old, terrifying witch with wrinkled skin and sharp teeth. The children froze, fear gripping their hearts. She pulled out a small razor blade. She moved swiftly, marking their skin with sharp lines, deep enough to bleed. Perfect. Strange symbols appeared as she cut them. The children screamed, their blood dripping on the floor. Shish, she hissed, her old voice echoing. It's just a game. The cries grew louder. Teachers outside heard the noise and rushed towards the restroom. In a flash, Marbelle switched back into her child form. She dragged the blade across her own small hand and fell to the ground, screaming with the rest of them. By the time the teacher forced the door open, they saw nothing but terrified children crying and blood on their bodies. Marbelle was among them, crying the loudest. An investigation followed immediately. The school called in the parents, even questioned the children. But none of the little ones could explain clearly what had happened. At the end, the teachers found nothing concrete. The case was dismissed as children being children. After 2 weeks, 3 of the kids died, the other kid went missing. Yet no one suspected Marbelle. Not too long, she started sleeping too long. Her body was always cool, almost cold. Sometimes Betty would shake her, call her name, even lift her from the bed, but Marbelle would not wake. Betty's heart would pound, thinking she had lost her. Then, just when fear took over, Marbelle would open her eyes slowly, yawn, and smile like nothing had happened. One afternoon, Betty tried to share her worries with their neighbor. My child sleeps so deep. Sometimes I think she's gone, Betty said. Deep sleep like that means spiritual people are struggling the child with you. Follow me to our church on the 1st of next month. A prophet is coming. He can pray for her. Betty believed her right away. Hadn't she always thought spiritual forces were the reason she could not conceive all these years? Maybe they were now after Marbelle too. That night she told Obina. He listened, rubbed his chin, and finally agreed. If it will give you peace, we will go, he said. But Marbelle had overheard everything. Later that night, while her parents slept, she drifted into their coven through the wall. She stood before them, her small body now carrying the face of an ancient being. This people want to take me to church, she said. Due to my deep sleep. The coven members hissed and murmured. One suggested, then you must no longer come to us through sleep. We will visit you instead. To stop them from taking you to church, you must scatter and destroy that apartment. Pull down the ceiling in the living room and in their bedroom. Tear one part of the wall with a heavy storm. This will force them to leave for another apartment and be far from that planned saboteur of a neighbor. By dawn, she had done exactly as told. The ceiling crashed, part of the wall cracked, and the storm that night left their apartment in ruins. Obinna and Betty had no choice.